My name is Jamie Wilson and I am the videographer for New Direction Tackle. So I'm the guy behind the camera throughout this episode. It's the first time Spotlight has gone to France and it's the first time I filmed in France. No production team, no second shooter, it's just me and my cameras. In my head, I had it scripted how I wanted this episode to go.
Jamie, got one. Listen!
There are some things that I can do to make the film go the way that I wanted it to.
My spot is absolutely fizzing out there like a jacuzzi.
Firstly, choosing the right lake. Next, capturing the highs and the lows.
And the actual fish just come off, it slipped the hook and off it went.
Next on the list, which is out of my control, PBs.
Are you lying?
Honestly, mate, honestly.
Next, the hard part, creating the story. And lastly, the fairy tale ending. The part that I enjoy the most is piecing it all together, creating that story, creating the film, and the ultimate goal for me is creating that memory that will last a lifetime. And if I can do that, I've done it justice.
Yes, boy, well done. Cheers, Dale.
For me, this lake, it's very magic lake for me.
Get in there. So this trip was all organised by Angling Lines and it couldn't have been simpler. You just literally have to go onto the website and they manage quite a few different lakes throughout France, or manage them for the owners, and you scour through, you find the lake that you like the look of, you have a bit of a read up about it and you book it up. It's as simple as that. They book up your ferry and then that basically goes into a customer sort of like lobby, and then everything is updated within that lobby, and all you have to do is just turn up at Calais, jump on a ferry, and it couldn't be any simpler.
The four of us met the night before at our location central to where we all live at Monk Lakes, having only a few hours to pack into 2 vans before we set off at midnight for the 3 AM ferry. And the wise thing to do would have been to get some all-important sleep, but Mark being Mark, decided it was a good idea to go and do a bit of stalking on his local lake, which in a way set the tone before we'd even left that this is how Mark was going to fish his week in France. Breaking the journey up with a few stops along the way and Mark feeling the effects of his late night stalking instead of his all-important sleeping. Five or so hours later, arriving at the gate, we got our first look of the stunning Lake Berniere.
So we chose Berniere. It's a 27-acre gravel pit. It has 13 swims, but you can have 14 people here. Now, within those 13 swims, 5 of those are doubles. Every swim has a rowing boat in it, and there's life jackets as well. I've bought my own boat, so yeah, but there are boats here in every single swim with life jackets, should you choose to need it. And what I'm seeing out there, the lake has been dyed, so there's an indication there's probably a little bit of weed out there in places, so I think those rowing boats are going to come in very, very handy. We've also bought bait boats, which are also allowed on here. The cabin, there is a cabin at the very, very far end of the lake, which has basic facilities. There's freezers in there as well, and what I've seen so far, the 4G is pretty good around the whole of the lake. There's a toilet shower block over the back there. The toilets are very, very clean. The main reason we chose this lake was when we flicked through the Angling Lines website, this was one that really, really standed out for us, purely because it's just so picturesque. We had a look at the photos of the fish and they were absolutely stunning, and it was a no-brainer. It was one that actually jumped out at us straight away. So here we are at Berniere, and I can't wait to get a rod out.
After gathering as much valuable information from the local bailiff David, who had been fishing Berniere for 30 years, the guys then did a lap of the lake to check out the swims and for any signs of fish. With fish showing in lots of areas around the lake, there was no need for a draw. Instead, it was decided to work as a team to cover as much water as possible. Mark would take swim 8, Simon in 11, and the chef would be starting in swim 5. This covered the main body of the lake, leaving the far end and the spit for the guys to pre-bait and move if necessary. So the guys spend most of the first afternoon, evening kind of like finding their spots, working out where the clear areas were amongst the weed. We were all absolutely shattered heading into that first evening, and it was almost like that day had been written off before it even started. So we all got our heads down for some kip. But it didn't take Mark long before he was into the first Berniere carp.
First blast. It's always nice.
What is it?
Common?
Yeah. Come on.
Well, not exactly what we're after, but we haven't been here that long. Spent 12 hours getting here, and yeah, tonight was just really find our spots, get some rigs out there and have a proper go tomorrow. But not a bad start. It's promising we've had one so early. Not the biggest, but all the same, it's still a carp.
Start, mate. It is a start.
Definitely. It's really good having one so early. Really good. 6.5 days, 6 days and a bit actually, to go. First one notched off. You can only get better, surely? Yeah? Surely. There's an area up there, I was talking to David the bailiff, and he said a lot of fish hang about along there, so I followed his advice. I went out and had a look. I found a few areas that looked to me were visited frequently, and the proof was in the pudding. I had a fish the early hours this morning from that particular spot. I also lost one from there yesterday as well. So that brings us to now, where I've just had a lovely common from my right hand margin spot, and things are looking good. We're only into the first day. That's landed 2 and lost 2 and I've had a bream as well, but we won't talk about the bream. But yeah, we've got another 5.5 days to go, and things are looking good. And I've seen, when I've been out there, some very big fish, and I think it's only a matter of time. Hopefully one of us is going to pick one of those up. Yeah, I'd like to pick up a fish over 60 pounds. That would do me. That would do me.
Not asking for much, mate, are you?
No, not a lot.
Right,
Yeah.
should we go sort this common?
Yeah, let's go sort the common. So here's the one I've just picked up off that margin spot. Look at it. The mouth on this is absolutely pinprick perfect. I don't think it's been caught very much. It's got the webbing in there. It's got a really cool scale effect across the bottom of its belly as well. Look at the colour. It's black as the ace of spades. It's a cracker. Absolute cracker. Not the biggest, but it's a beautiful fish. And we're only really the first day in. Yesterday it was more setting up, finding the spots. This is the first day of proper fishing. And yeah, we're doing all right, we're doing all right.
This is when we got our first look in daylight of how immaculate these fish were going to be. Mark was the only one with success on the first night and morning, as the guys were getting to grips with how tricky this weedy water might be.
And the last thing anyone really wanted to do was throw a rod out, so we used the time just to go around the lake, have a look, familiarise ourselves with the surroundings, and then really concentrate on today with the fishing. So I'm here with Simon, he's the accounts manager for New Direction Tackle. Also here with Jason, the UK carp chef. And when we walked around yesterday, we see fish in every single swim, and it was incredibly hard to actually pick which swim to have. When I got back to here, we've got a lovely cabin here, and this really swayed it for me, and I did see quite a few fish in front as well. Don't cut, does it? I'm committed now, look. I'm getting ready for the evening, and because I want these baits absolutely precise, there is a lot of weed out there. I've just cleared a lot bringing my rigs back in, but I'm going to go out there with the boat. Why? I've still got a bit of light, and before this storm, by the looks of it's coming in, and I'm going to place them in place on the spots in that boat down there, and come back and do it 3 times. So it's going to take me a little bit of time getting it all sorted. But then they're done. They're done for the night.
A quiet afternoon on day 2, made better by a top meal from the chef, as the first of many storms rolled in. An absolutely stunning morning at Berniere with the mist rolling off the lake, but with no fish out and Simon losing a good one at night, he realised just how tough this trip might be.
Then all of a sudden I had a phone call about 5 o'clock, I think it was, and he had another one on, and it was in a weed bed directly in front of him. So I went out with the boat just to give him a bit of moral support and see if I can help him get it in. When I got there, you could see the fish actually spun itself around a piece of weed that was there, and as we was lifting it up, we was just gently trying to just see if we could work the line loose, and the actual fish just come off. It slipped the hook and off it went. So at that point we pulled the rig up, and yeah, he had to start again. But although he's lost 2, there is fish in his swim.
Mark realised that a new approach was needed if he was to have the success he wanted, and this is what Mark does best, adapting to the conditions and finding ways to have a chance of catching some of these elusive Berniere carp.
We've had a walk around this morning and there's a lot of fizzing going on, so hence why I've got this little 6-foot stalking gear. Got a little tiny rig here with a single tiger nut, 2 pieces of maize, a little 1 ounce lead because I don't want to disturb them, and I can see the fish. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to try and just lower this in front of them with as little disturbance as possible, and if I can see the fish suck that up into its mouth, I'm going to strike it even before it starts screaming off, pretty much like surface fishing. But that's what we're going to do. I may have missed the opportunity because by the time I've got back here and set this up, it's getting a little bit warmer now and time is ticking on. But I've got all this ready for tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But the lake seems to come alive from about 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the morning. So off I go.
With the guys determined to catch a Berniere carp, Simon was sticking to his guns on a clear spot they produced the previous night and this morning. With a few more tips on how to land carp in the thick weedy lakes from Mark, he was ready for the next bite. Mark went on the search for some carp in the spit, and this is a pattern that would form throughout the week. With a sunken tree the main focus of pre-baiting, as he had seen the carp coming in and out of this area. Our group discussion at breakfast was that having a big area of the lake not being fished could be holding a lot of the stock in that area because there's no lines and no pressure. There was no doubt that some of the carp would feel safe in that area, so Mark put a message out to the other ND members back in the UK.
Okay, you boys get yourself to France, do a few days on the lake.
Right gentlemen, I'm on the motorway in France. I've got 215 miles ahead of me. I'll see you very soon.
So tonight I'm going to be hitting the same spots of what I've been, well, the same spots I've been fishing. I've got one down on that right hand margin. I found 2 areas in the middle of the lake which is nice and clear. So I'm going to hit that with a little bit more bait tonight. And then on the margin down here, just a handful of bait, see if I can nick another bite. That is the area that I've had 2 fish from. So yeah, I'm just going to keep at what I'm doing, and I'm just going to adjust to what I see. And it normally takes me about 2 to 3 days to get in tune with the lake, and then I can work it out.
Yeah, you can only go off what you see, can't you?
Exactly.
And I've sort of come in cold. You boys obviously here a day before me. It's a bit of a mad rush, but I've flown down here. Like I say, I've set up on top of fish that was there during the sunshine today. That was right on the edge. We see a couple of good fish, a couple of grass carp, a couple of good carp as well. And we'll see what tonight brings, and hopefully we don't get breamed out in this storm, because you don't want to be getting up for a snotty in this storm.
Exactly.
The first trip to France for Simon, a few lost fish, and we headed into the evening of day 3, and he was off the mark.
Ready?
Yeah, man. I thought I see you in one.
Finally. I landed one.
Yeah, man, it's well deserved. After them losses as well.
Might be a tiddler, but...
Doesn't matter, does it? It's the first one. Look at it, it's new fish. Look, it's still got its webbing in its mouth. But yeah, that's the first one.
We're in.
Your first ever French carp.
My first
as
ever
well.
Frenchie.
So, I'm going to say, I'm going to put it on the line here. They can only get bigger.
They're better.
Well, good luck anyway, mate. And if you do get anything, give us a call and I'll come round and help you.
Nice one.
Cheers, Si.
Cheers, mate.
Well done, mate.
Thank you.
So pleased he's off the mark.
Huh?
So pleased you're off the mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now you've had the first one, they're going to come like London buses and trains.
As a group, we were buzzing for Simon to have his first one, especially after the losses and the new challenges he had faced, having only been fishing for 5 years. It was a great moment, but with more special moments coming later for him, it was back stalking for Mark on his pre-baited spots by the fallen tree.
What are you saying then, mate?
I'm saying I'm struggling getting this lead clip over the clippy bit. It's so tight. I really just want to put it over the tip. There we go.
Can't express how bad these mozzies are here right now.
Mate, I feel like I'm an attraction to them.
As we continued to be eaten alive by the mosquitoes, we persevered with this spot for a few hours. And as the light began to fade, the hard work from baiting this spot the last few days was about to pay off. The first Berniere carp from the fallen tree was in the net, and this was a pattern of things to come for Mark for the rest of the week.
Look at that. It got dark, we went for a little walk and we could see it's fizzing down on them areas that are pre-baited earlier. So I just literally put the spoon back out and off she rocked. 15-20 minutes later, and it was touch and go whether we was actually going to go back to the other side. So we're 3 days in now, and quite a lot went on yesterday. We had the arrival of Dale, and I spent most of the time helping him find a few spots out there, just so we could get some rigs live for the nights, and then he's going to concentrate today finding some proper spots to fish. Then we had Simon catch his first ever carp from France. It wasn't the biggest fish, but it was his first fish, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come. So he's lost a few as well. So going by what he's actually landed and what he's lost, the laws of averages are he's going to, he's potentially going to catch a few more where he's fishing. I spent quite a bit of time yesterday. There's a little shallow bay behind me at the back of this like little spit of an island, and there's a fallen down tree. Now, over the last 2 to 3 days, I've been spoon feeding out with the pole and just tipping over and just introducing a little bit of bait, little and often, and I'll keep going back and doing the same. Well, last night when we went round to see Simon, we noticed that the areas that I was pre-baiting were fizzing up like a jacuzzi. So on the way back we had another look and they were still doing it, and decided to go and put a rod on the fizzing areas that we've been pre-baiting. So we got there was a little bit fizzing to the left, and there's a bit on the centre part of the spit where the tree's fallen down into the water, and I had a little bit of a lead around there as well, and I knew it was clear because I'd done all that a couple of days beforehand. So I got spoon fed out, put the spoon out with my rig in, and just gingerly tipped it over, got both rods out on the spots, and then sat there and waited. All of a sudden I just about to pack up and come back to my normal swim, and the rod absolutely ripped off and bent into a 40-pound fish. It was just over 40 pound. It was a good fish. It gave me a good battle. It went into a little bit of a weed bed and then it come back out again. So gone back to the shed, had a couple of hours sleep, set the alarm for 5 o'clock, and I went back over there this morning and started putting a little bit more bait back in there again, because I'm going to fish that during the day today, and hopefully I'm going to have a few fish out there, because I know they're there during the day. This area of water in front of me here seems to be doing the night, so this is my night bite area, and then during the day when it's hot, it's going to be hot today, that's my stalking area round the corner there. And with my little 6-foot sawn-offs, love my little 6-foot sawn-offs, they're great for this occasion. So yeah, that's the plan today. I'm not going to put a rod out during the day. I'm going to, in this particular area, I am around there, but I'm just going to spend the next couple of hours just going back out and finding a couple more spots. I'm really happy with one of my spots, which is the right hand margin, which has done me a couple of fish, and I had another fish actually last night, which I forgot to mention. That was a 25 pounder off of that right hand rod, so it was 2 fish last night. And the other 2 rods for me just seem like they're just being a bit redundant, so I'm going to find a couple more spots, leave that one out on the right hand margin, find another couple of spots out there over the next couple of hours, mark them up, fish over there for the rest of the day, come back here tonight and then fish my 2 new spots and my margin rod, and hopefully I think I'm getting it right now.
Mark headed to his stalking spot and the fish were back on his bait, and it didn't take long for his rod to rip off. Day 4 would be Mark's most productive day, as the pre-baiting from the last few days would prove to be a deadly tactic.
I'm not sure whether that's just come off, you know, or it's just kited that way. I think it's just come off. No, it's on that. There was a big one just shot across there, I thought. A little bit of weed down there. Can't get rid of. Try and get its head up quickly, get a bit of oxygen, and then I'll move back. I'll walk it back to you. Yes, boy. Well done. Cheers, Dale. That way, all right?
A stunning carp at 45 pound gave us another glimpse of this stunning fish that swam in Berniere. This was a great buzz as the whole group were present to witness this class bit of angling, and this continued throughout the afternoon.
Get in there! Whipped off this bastard.
Now, Mark. I've only done 2 minutes.
yeah, rushing this a little bit because while we're setting up, ready for this little showpiece, my spot is absolutely fizzing out there like a jacuzzi. So I'm pretty keen to get another rig back on there ASAP. Going in that weed bed. There we go, another 20, just over. I knew it was going to go. It was literally like a jacuzzi out there. I've got one rod still out there, so I'm not going to throw the rod out. This has just come off back out there. I'm going to just leave that one that's out there, and yeah, give it another 15-20 minutes. And if I don't have anything, I'm going to bring it in, rebait back up, rest the swim, go back to my night area, get my rods out on the other side of the lake, and then come back first thing in the morning again and try and work this swim. Like I have been, because it seems to be paying off. Well, that's it. That's my 15 minutes over. So I'm going to bring this rod in and get a little bit of bait out there and head back to the swim over there. Come back tomorrow, early in the morning.
What, we're in the car, mate? Van.
We're in the van because Dale has a fish over the far end. So I was just about to put a rod out and I heard across the lake, oi oi! So yeah, bolted putting my rod out so we can go over and see what he's got. So that's where we're going now.
Sweet. What's happening? Good one?
Maybe scrape a 30, Colin.
That's not interference, that's mosquitoes.
Yeah.
I heard you shouting across the lake.
Off the mark, mate, anyway.
Nice fish, isn't it? Look at the scale pattern.
Yeah.
Full of spawn as well.
Yeah. Took me on a merry dance out in the lake.
Beautiful
Boat was spinning round, all sorts.
Beautiful colour. Well, it's the first one, but we've still got a few days now to go.
Yeah. 4 nights left. That's all to play for, isn't it?
Lovely fish. Beautiful fish. They're really nice in there, aren't they?
Yeah, it's lovely colours. Got a nice white belly on her.
Yeah, cool. Well done. Well done. Holler if you get anything else.
Yeah, we'll do.
And yeah, well done again.
Nice one. Speak to you later.
What are we doing?
Mozzies, mate. They're awful. Proper awful.
What about your poor cameraman, mate?
I've never known.
Your poor cameraman.
You've got a t-shirt on.
Yeah, exactly.
You look like I don't know, you've got some sort of skin disorder with the amount of brights on you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, that's alright.
Nice. With Chef putting on another high-class barbecue for the team, he later decided to move on from swim 5 into 7, and it didn't take him long to have his first Berniere carp.
That is pretty fish, isn't it?
Turn up. With that confirmed, none of the group were going to be going home blanking, so spirits were high, the boys were determined as ever, and we had the second half of the week to go.
going to spawn. Not going to be long. Right. There we go, another one for this morning. Little tiny one, probably, well, it is the smallest one of the trip, without a doubt. Mosquito on the nose. But we're going to get this back in really, really quickly because I've just had a message come through on my phone. Simon over the back there, it looks like he's got something special in there. So we'll get this in and go and have a look, see what he's got.
I'm not sure if anyone's awake, but I have a big one in the sling. I've got a big one in the sling. A big one.
That's £50 3 ounces. And that's the correct weight. Well done, bruv. Well done.
Are you joking?
No, £50 3 ounces.
That's a big fish.
That is a mega fish. And that's spawned out. That's probably
Mid-50s.
it's lost 4 or 5 pound of weight in spawn probably at that size.
Oh my god.
Simon's biggest carp before this was 26 pound. So he skipped the 30s, skipped the 40s, and he's pulled out a 50 pound common.
Listen!
So after a really good couple of days around the lake, the boys were starting to crack the lake. And while Simon was showering in his success with the ND shower, Mark's focus turned fully back to the fallen tree to his pre-baited spot.
Yeah, the plan is today I'm going to work that swim. I know Dale's going round as well. He's going to find some other little corners where hopefully find some fish lurking and hiding up, and feel confident we're going to have a few more fish. But yeah, it's going to be a hot one today. It's going to be really, really hot.
Caught yourself a 50 pound carp. Talk us through it.
Yep, my first ever 50, my first time to France, and it's been amazing. So I've been doing the same tactics as I did from the start, using tigers as my on my rigs as my hook bait, and just a mix of boilie, particle and tigers as the freebies. I found the spot a couple of days before, and it's the one that produced me the little one of the mid double. And yeah, I was quite confident that night that something was going to go, and it did. And I don't know, as I was reeling it in, it felt like a smaller fish than what it was. There was no fight in it at all. I managed to get it through the weed from the bank, which was quite a shock. I had the life jacket on ready to jump on just in case. But yeah, as I got it straight to the bank and got it in the net, I was just staring at it and I was like, that's a bigger fish than I thought. And I turn it over to see its belly and I was like, that's a huge fish. and the excitement and my heart just started racing, and I didn't know what to do. So I voice noted everyone in the group chat. Most of them was still sleeping, apart from Dale. But yeah, I was just buzzing, and I'm still in shock, to be fair, because originally I thought it was just going to be mid 40 or a 40. Still really happy about the 40, but to find out when me and Mark weighed it that it was 50 pounds 3 ounces was just, yeah, my heart dropped a lot. I got a little bit teary over it, to be fair, I'm not going to lie. And it's a moment I'll never forget. Berniere has been a great place to fish for me. There's been some challenges with the weed, losing 2 fish, but with help from Mark, Dale, Jamie as well, just tips on what to do, it's pulled through, and I could go home now a very happy person.
Oh! I can't get in the middle of it. I can't get off. Get off. You ruined it.
Yay! Well done, mate. Well done.
Well inside.
Yeah, you can finish that off.
Berniere.
The fish down there, I'm just going to grab a rod and I'm going to go around it with a net and just one rod, see if I can nick one out of there. That's quite a steep drop down from the bank, so got my waders on now, and I'm so glad I've got these little 6-foot sawn offs, because I just wouldn't get to these fish otherwise with anything longer. So yeah, just gonna have a go.
With Mark saving battery on his GoPro, seconds after he'd switched it off, his rod was away.
Jamie, got one. Yes, get in there. Get in. Jesus. Jamie! I've got one!
Guy in this bush somewhere.
I'm here.
There he is. What's going on?
It's proper sneaky, mate. I free-lined it and dropped a little tithing out, just flitted it on its head, took the lead off and just watched it suck it in, tightened the line, bent straight into it, mate. Give me a proper fight. But I've got a problem, I've got to get down there somehow.
Alright.
But yeah, if you want to first that retainer,
Okay.
I'll try and get down there. Well, I worked for this one, and it gave me one hell of a battle. Nice little common. Speaking to the bailiff, you can't believe so many commons have come out during this trip. He said predominantly it's mirrors. And I think this is probably at least number 5 commons, that is, and there's still fish down there. So what I'm going to do is, I've disturbed it enough, I think I can get them feeding again. I'm going to put a bit more bait down there, disappear off, rest it, and I've just got another area now I can keep an eye on, flitter in between the two and stalk them out like this one. And this is my favourite method of fishing, going places where other people don't normally go. Even if I get stung, thorns in me, rip me waders, whatever, it's all worth it. How's it bear?
Weather update. The
this pretty much all day with intermittent rain between 10 and 12, I do believe. The wind has changed direction to a westerly currently. We're changing to a southwesterly, which will be pushing into that bay for Mark's little adventures.
And what a difference in the weather today. We've been battling with really muggy, hot conditions, thunderstorms, and today it's dropped right down to low 20s, overcast, a load of wind, and looks very good for a few bites today, during the day. Come on. Tensing. Come on. That's it. There we go. And this is number 10. And I don't know if I've mentioned this. This was my target for the week. 10 fish. And I've still got 2 days to go. So, over the moon. I've hit my target. Anything else now is a bonus. But I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to keep going, and try and work and keep that consistency up, because now my target's 15.
As Mark slipped back number 10, shortly after we headed round to Dow Swim, where he had a nice one in the retainer ready to be photographed. And as we arrived, the heavens opened and he was playing his second fish of the morning.
Just a baby, but I've got a bit of a chunk in the retainer. We'll slip this one back and then we'll get around and show you. That'll do.
Another beautiful carp from Berniere, again confirming to us that we chose the right lake from the Angling Lines website. Stunning place, stunning lake, stunning fish.
Come on!
Before long, Mark was back in the bushes doing what he does best. Firstly, he had to go in the awkward bush with the high bank, and after giving this a few hours and no success, he decided to head back to the fallen tree, which would prove to be a great decision, as this was quite possibly the quickest bite I've ever seen in my life.
I mean,
What?
I mean, jeez. The line when I thought you were still stuck on the thing. I was thinking, no, mate.
I literally thought, you idiot.
I know, I can see it, bud. Now, when I say that was 5 seconds, that was not a lie. That was tip, started retrieving, the bail arm was still off. I see the line keep going for it, ain't that deep, literally, it was on there. Unbelievable. Well, that's got to be the quickest bite ever. And you see it on camera, live. I think it's probably the quickest bite I've ever had before as well, so not the biggest fish, but still a lot of big ones out there. And we're starting to pull, going again, getting a knock. So we'll get this one back quick, because that could go any time. There's some big fish lurking around down there. So the reason why we're in the back of the van is as we come round the corner, my spot round there was fizzing, so I decided to get a rod out, and while doing so, David's turned up, the bailiff. So he can't get past, so I blocked the track, so thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a little chat with David, because he knows the lake better than anyone else. So what do you know, what's drawn you to becoming a bailiff on this lake?
For me, this lake, it's very magic lake for me, because it's a lake we have a lot of natural food, and the fish are growing very quickly. Sometimes we see a new fish of 50, and this fish we see maybe 3 years ago, but it's only 40. So the fish are growing very quickly. We never see so much carp growing so much.
Yeah. So you've been a bailiff for 2 years, but you've been fishing it longer than 2 years? You've personally fishing?
Sometimes I fish, yeah. When I have no people here, I fish, yeah.
So how many 50s have you had out of this lake?
I have, personally, I have 14 carp of more 50.
Yep.
165 is a new PB of the year.
Yep.
But I'm sure, and I know what we see, sometimes where you fish have some very big mirror.
So roughly how many fish what's the stock? How many fish are in the lake in total?
In total, we see around 550 fish. And 2 years ago, we put 55 new stock, around 30 pounds. And I think your friend caught 49, but it's a new stock since only 2 years. So it's crazy. And this last winter, we put 50 carp and 55 grass carp, because we have some patch of weed, so the grass carp help to clean the lake. Yeah.
So we've noticed that there's quite a few weed patches, but there's some nice polished areas of gravel as well out there. And to be fair, without the information you provide us, you've made it a little bit easy for us, because you have drawn us and put us on some spots, and those spots have produced fish.
Yes, of course.
We had one of the guys in the team that he was in a swim that you said to him, "Oh, not so good at the moment, this one.
Exactly.
You need more people on the lake, you want to go in this swim." He moved and he caught straight away.
Yes,
it pays to listen to, to people that know the lake. And it's a fabulous lake.
Yeah.
It's so picturesque. It's like you say, a little paradise in the middle of nowhere.
It's very quiet here.
It is, yeah.
So nothing, no cars, nothing. It's quiet.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for having us. And
thank you, Mark.
It's been a pleasure meeting
you. It's a pleasure.
And, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If anyone wants to go on and book on Berniere Lake, go onto the angling lines, flick through, and you can just see some of the stuff got on there. The reason why we wanted to come on here was the pictures that are on there in the first place. The carp in here, I kid you not, they're absolutely beautiful. And that was one of the main reasons why we decided to come here, because of the lake itself, but the carp that are in here that we see. Well, it's another end to another day, and this morning was absolutely horrendous. I managed to have a fish last night, and during the day I started walking around and went a little bit like Mick Dundee, going through all the bushes, and I walked the whole lake and tried to see if I could see any signs of activity anywhere to try and stalk a fish out. And while doing that, the heavens literally opened up, and I went back absolutely soaked, and sort of like the motivation went a little bit. So I've not done a lot today. I've sat down, I've rested my swim, and then later on this afternoon I went back out just to check some of the areas that I've been baiting up, and managed to have one very, very quickly. Certainly the quickest bite I've ever had. And we're into our penultimate night, and I've got a rig just down there. Now, I've been told that generally the bigger fish come out down this end of the lake, and no one's been fishing here. Now, I've worked out a pattern with these fish and where they're going to be at certain times of the day. So down the bottom bay down there, from 1 o'clock, there's fish there, literally on the dot, 3 days in a row, 1 o'clock, down there, they're fizzing on the bait. Another area, they'll be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. So there is very, very much patrol routes that they follow. And what I've been trying to do is, by pre-basing these little areas, and I've worked out these patrol routes, I've been trying to get my rigs in pretty much just before they're due to turn up, so I'm not disturbing them. They're coming straight onto my baited areas and they're picking my rigs up. And that's what I've been doing, and it's worked well. It's probably something not many anglers do nowadays. They tend to sit on their rods, but that's not for me. I like to get out and about. I can't sit on my hands. I get itchy feet and I just need to be moving. And I get a lot of enjoyment by going looking for fish and finding fish and actually stalking them out. It's just so much better for me. And as I'm talking to you, there's a fish just rolled directly behind the camera. So depending on how that goes down there today and whether I can put up with these gnats, I may end up doing a night up this end of the lake. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if I can deal with these gnats, to be fair. But there we go.
Thursday night was a quiet night for Mark, as we were greeted with a stunning sunrise Friday morning. Heading into our last day, still we wanted that one big fish to finish our film. So the boys would give it everything to get lucky, and Dal started us off with this proper character.
Morning everybody. So it was quite a night last night around the pond. Even Mark didn't have anything. There was a hell of a lot of fish down here though, yesterday evening. And the margin rod ripped off about half an hour ago. But I'm still kind of quite confident for another bite on the middle rod.
As Dal slipped this one back and the rest of the morning was quiet as bite time was over. With Simon still on a high after smashing his PB, he was living in fairyland still with his new friend. The carp were basking in the sun and no joy on his pre-baited spots, this time using a 7-foot zig, and again, it didn't take long for Mark's rod to be away. So we're in the final night, Mark. Tell us what's going on, mate.
Well, we've located some fish. There's a patch of weed out there, a clear spot in the middle, and the weed is probably about 3 foot under the surface, but the fish are just cruising about on the top of it and then dipping into this hole. So I threw a 7-foot zig into the hole between the two bits of weed, sat on the bench, got one beat, 2 beeps, and then just flat toned me. The end of my rod was bent round double. I've never seen a clutch spin round so fast in my life.
Seeing as this was potentially the last fish of the trip, Mark decided to do an end piece. It wouldn't have been the fairy tale ending we wanted, but with the final night closing in, time was running out. In fact, this was the highlight of the trip for me.
Look at it again. Literally.
And away she goes.
That's wet now. She hasn't gone, she's still in there. Fought hard in the water, it's fighting hard. Here as well. Come on.
Mark the carp wrangler.
Cheers guys.
This is amazing.
There we go. Look at that, beautiful. That's a wrap.
We headed into the final night so desperately wanting that last big fish. A big last effort from everyone see Mark and the chef move into swim 4, as this is where they see the majority of the fish holding. The night was perfectly set.
If anyone's still awake, this is no joke. I think I may have a potential 60 in my sling. Honestly, I think it's a potential 60. I'm not even kidding. Holy I think it's a potential 60.
The sling's I'm weighing the sling, it's going to around 62. Guys, I'm not joking. Why is no one awake? I think I have a potential 60. I'm trying to remember what Mark said my sling weighed. It was £2 something. But if I do, it may be 60 on the nose.
Now for me creating this film, this was the perfect scenario. Potentially the biggest carp of the trip on the final morning. It was the ultimate end. And then to later find out it was actually the biggest known fish to be caught at 65 pound pre-spawning. And who else better than the guy that before this trip had only caught a 20. He skipped the 30, he skipped the 40, and then he bags himself a 50. And now a potential 60. You couldn't write it any better.
That's bigger than the last one.
100%. It is 61. 61, yeah, I'd say 61.3. 61.3.
61.3, mate. You're lying.
Honestly, mate, honestly.
61.
The boys had a 50, he's now had a 60.
No way.
What?
Get in there!
Row, row, row your boat gently down Berniere. If I don't catch a big fish, I'll sell my fishing gear.